Hi, I'm Sharon Burns, owner and operator at RX Catering in the DC metro area. And we're here cooking with Sharon, the business chat. And I am so super excited because with business, you got to worry about your money. And this particular guest is going to be, I think, a favorite. Stephanie Fauntleroy with Baker's Tax and Accounting Services is here today. She is a busy woman, but I am super excited to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, Stephanie, that with every business decision and then also family discussions, it's usually done around food. Mm-hmm. A lot of times. So that's why I came up with this whole Cooking with Sharon, the business chat, so we can chit-chat over food and then also enjoy a good meal.
That sounds like a plan.
I think so. But you know what else we need to have?
What?
Something to drink.
Okay. I'm with you. I'm with you. Let's do it.
So Stephanie likes a red wine. So I thought we'd pull this out. McBride Sisters, you can't go wrong. Black owned.
The women. Magic.
Exactly.
I love it.
So we're going to try this out. I've never tried it before, but Stephanie's a special guest. So we're going to try it out. And you can't go wrong. Wine, a good red wine. We'll see what it's all about. So
this is perfect. Yeah. Thank you. I'm excited.
All right. So let's get started. I'm going to cook stuff and we're going to just talk.
Okay.
So let's get started.
Let's do it.
So can you tell the guests a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, just a little synopsis. I know, you got a lot to share, so.
I'm boring, but my name is Stephanie Fauntleroy. I am the owner of Baker's Tax and Accounting Service, like you mentioned. I'm born and raised in D.C.
Okay. Are you a D.C.
I am a D.C.
Not Virginia, not Maryland.
Not DMV. I don't know what that is. Okay. I'm a D.C. born and raised in Washington Hospital Center.
Okay. Then you the real deal.
Yeah, real deal. Whole life been here. Love this area. I love D.C. And gosh, I just, I've been here. I've always wanted my business to be rooted here. Actually, I was able to take over the business from my dad.
Okay.
So he started the business about in the 80s.
Late
80s, yeah. And he passed it on to me around 2011.
Are you the only child?
I am the only child.
Okay, so it just made sense.
Yeah, it made sense. I don't think that he really had the foresight. Like, I don't think he thought that I would ever kind of follow in his footsteps in that space. Mm-hmm. And then one day it just came to fruition kind of out of nowhere.
When you were growing up, were you like with him all the time?
I was with him a lot. And actually one of the things that the most prominent memories about my dad that I had coming up was not about the tax business. Mm-hmm. It was about his political life because he ran for DC councilman in the 80s, so he was kind of really heavy into that space. So I always remember being in the campaign rooms and, being at the parades and, kind of being around some pretty important folks. So those are the memories that kind of stick out in my mind. I never really kind of got involved in the tax business.
Wait, so how did he start the whole tax business if he was so politically, like an advocate?
You know what? That's a really good question. I wish I could ask him today. I think that in the beginning, it was not only a means to earn money. He's a super smart guy. So, he understood tax law. He always kind of wanted to be a lawyer. Okay. So he understood that and he knew that that was going to be a good way to, help raise his family. Right. But I think while he was doing all of that, he got to make certain connections in the community and decided that, the community was going to be a big focus for him. So, hence running for office. So he was kind of doing those things simultaneously. One to take care of his family and one to take care of his community.
Okay, gotcha. So when you took over, when did you take over? Was he still in the picture?
He was still there, but he was ready to go.
Okay. Ready to go.
He was ready to go, So I was working at a company in Virginia and my commute was horrible. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. Okay. So one day he called me and said, we were just talking And I was like, oh, it was just terrible coming to work today, And he was like, you should come work for me.
So wait a minute.
And I said, you know what? I think you're right.
So what kind of company were you?
Weeks.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
What kind of company were you working for at the time?
Yeah, I was actually working for a government contractor.
Okay.
And I was doing project management because that was the trajectory I was on at that point in my life.
Okay. All right.
But it just wasn't worth it. In my mind, it was just kind of I'm earning money for someone else.
Right.
And I didn't really see where the work I was doing, really kind of had meaning.
Right.
I don't know, just in some conversations with my dad, he was just like, we could do some things together.
Well, I'm surprised he never even thought to ask you before.
Because he didn't want to push me.
Okay.
I think it needed to be organic for him.
Okay.
Because I was, dealing with so many things. At that time in my life, I was just trying to figure me out.
Okay.
Gotcha. And I'm an only child. So that would kind of be a bit of, pressure when I think one person to have to, take over in that space.
Right.
Especially since he had a pretty substantial clientele.
Okay, so he had been doing it for how many years?
At that point, we had just celebrated his 25th anniversary.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So he had 25 years in the game, and then here you come rolling in.
Yeah, and I rolled in too because I had no idea. Listen, nothing, no idea. I didn't know how to spell tax, let alone how to do a tax. So
oh my gosh!
No, I didn't spell it, but I was just like, okay. But what he made me do though, I had to earn my spot.
Okay,
he made me start from the ground up.
What were you doing?
I came from doing contracting for the government to doing clerical work at Baker's House. I literally was filing.
You worked from the ground up.
I worked from the ground up, which I think was so important to my
development. You were learning too.
I was learning. I was a little disgruntled at times. I'm not gonna lie, because I thought I could, hey, I could dive in. Like I'm good. I'm smart. I can make this thing work. And he was like, no, we're gonna just let you do this thing in baby steps.
Right.
Which again, I appreciate it. Even now, when I'm working with the staff I have now, I really want everybody to have an understanding around all the positions.
Okay.
So people can know, what each person kind of needs to do, what each role entails. So we're all, kind of having each other's back there. So for me, just learning every step from file clerking to reception to data entry to, doing mini tax returns to then, being able to sit with people on my own. It took me almost 5 years to get to that place. So
do you have a degree in accounting?
I don't have a degree in accounting.
Shut up.
I don't. I went to the school of hard knocks. I learned, I took classes, we're responsible for taking CUs and, classes every year.
Right.
Because tax law changes every year. So kind of getting when I first learned how to do this, my father taught me how to do a tax return by paper.
That's very old school. Yeah. Right?
And which means you have to know. You have to know what you're doing. The software is not going to do it for you. Right. Exactly. Today, software is doing it for everyone. But when I first learned how to do it, I literally had to read the instructions, go from 1A to 12B on line 2 of page 7 and figure out how to do those calculations. So it was all kind of in the weeds learning for me. Right. And it's been a constant learning process, So doing tax prep is not so much around accounting. Okay. Because people always think that, there's, these other financial elements involved. It's more so based in tax law, right? Okay. So you have to understand the law around the, how to prepare a proper tax return. So there's always education because it's always changing. Absolutely.
So it's interesting. Your dad had been doing it for 25 years. You came in, you took over, or you started from the bottom. Now you're here.
Started from the bottom.
Now you're here. Yeah. But how? Because he had a staff in place, and for a small business owner, the people that are part of the team are usually kind of like the hardest to find and to maintain. So tell me about how you went about maintaining. I'm sure did you have to hire anybody? You still do, right? Okay, so how does that work? Like, where do you find people?
You know what? I get a lot of referrals. Okay. We have a pretty nice size clientele. So there's always someone that's like, hey, my kid's looking for a job, or my child just graduated from this, or my, nephew wants to do that, or how about I take a class or two, or did you need some help?
Right.
So there's always people kind of lending a helping hand. So I've never had to go to like a headhunter or anything like that to find anybody to fill
That's a
those
blessing.
spots.
How many are on your team now?
So typically throughout the year, I maintain a really, really small staff because as you know, tax season is really kind of concentrated to the first 4 months of the year.
Yep.
So I don't really need a full staff for the entire year. So during tax season, I have about 6 people or so that are, men in different stations.
Okay.
And then after tax season, we dwindle that number down to 1 or 2 just to, keep the phone answered. And then since COVID, and we've had to do a lot of pivoting in that space. So I actually got virtual assisting on board, so I don't actually physically have to have someone in the office when I'm not there during the off season.
Right.
So it was, a little easier for us financially, because it's not as expensive as having a body.
Right. So how did you go about finding that person? Because
virtual assistant?
Yeah, because it hasn't worked for me. So
really?
Only because, I don't know about you, but I'm micromanager. Okay. So I like really hands-on customer service. It has to be on point. Yeah. So it didn't work for me. Not that it won't work for others. But how did you go about finding yours?
Well, Google. Google. But it was trial and error because I'm on my second one. Okay. So the first one didn't have as many bells and whistles. Right. Okay. So it did kind of slip in some of the spaces. I really wasn't able to make sure that my clients were taken care of properly. They didn't have enough tools in that particular one. But then I found one that was a little more user friendly, a little bit more tools in there to help the client kind of feel like they're not dealing with a robot. Okay, right.
Or someone that's not local. Yeah, I mean, you get that feeling.
And then so this particular company, most of their staff, from what I understand, the way they tout it, it's a USA based company. Okay. Right? Okay. So I actually, in my testing, I haven't heard anyone with a foreign accent.
So you get
when I call
random people.
Yeah, so there are random people that answer the calls. But again, with the various tools, like they're able to email us. They're able to, if we have hours that were available to speak, they can transfer that call so it doesn't kind of get lost in oblivion. Right. So, so there are a lot of different things you could do to kind of really make that work for you. I mean, you still have to be responsive. Right. Right. So there's still that element of, making sure the customer feels heard, right? And attended to. So I think that if you find the right company, you'll be able to do that. You still have to take responsibility in that space, though. Okay. As the business owner, you got to answer the calls and
you have to stuff. I mean, because there are 1,000, accounting tax services out there. So what makes yours different? I mean, why should someone come to Baker's?
You know what? I feel like, and I always say this, I just feel like when you do call, because our business is referral based. Okay. We typically do not market, which I think we're going to get into that space a little bit more. We don't do much marketing at all.
Because your dad
he had a huge client base, and a lot of the people that we still continue to get, because we still continue to grow, are coming from current clients, right? They're coming back, they're referring their friends and their kids, and so we do generational work too, right? So I'm working with the grandmother and their child and their children and their children's children, over time. So it's been a really interesting space, and I think part of the reason why we've been able to do that is just because we do try to have personal relationships, right? And try to, if you call us, we always try to say, we'll know your name when you call, right? When you call us, we're going to have some idea of who you are. Okay. Right? Gotcha. You're not just going to, we spent most of, until I moved to the current space that I'm in, we spent most of the time in buildings that did not have awnings, that didn't have names on them. Okay. If you knew, you knew.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So if you knew where Baker's Tax Service was, you knew, right? We didn't have signage. So, and that really just comes from all of our clients just kind of being based on who we knew.
Right. So your current location is
We're in Landover.
Okay. So is this your second one since you've taken over?
It's the second one since I've taken over.
So how did you go about, like, I mean, I'm sure you don't know much about like real estate and, you know, office space and all that. I mean, you basically had to teach yourself.
Yeah.
And how did you go about finding that location?
That's an interesting question, Sharon. I was in a bit of a pickle at that time. You know, my dad unfortunately transitioned, so I couldn't stay in the space that we were in. Okay. Because it just didn't kind of feel safe to me, and it, you know, without having him there as my partner, and oftentimes having to be in the office at 10, 11 o'clock at night because we work really long hours, it just didn't feel safe to me anymore, since it was just going to be me. So I got with my real estate agent, who's amazing, and I said, look, I have nowhere to start. I don't know what to do. I have 6 months, though. Because
that's not a long period of time.
Starts in January, right? And by June, I was like, yeah, I gotta move. Right. And I need you to help me find a place. So we went, you know, to several places, and we decided to lease because it was just going to be easier to get into something quickly if we leased the space. So we found a space, and we lucked up really because the space that we were in, the owners were like, you know, what do you need for us to do? We can tear down the wall, we can put in flooring, we can do all these things.
So what'd you do?
And so I went for it, you know, and the lease.
Did it cost you more?
It didn't cost us more. And they prorated it. I was like, look at God. Like it really truly was a blessing for us, you know, because again, it was affordable. It was in a safe space. There was plenty of parking, like all of the things that I needed to have to feel comfortable going into this, you know, new era, you know, this new.
Were you upgrading, like how many, like more office space, or was it about the same?
It was somewhat of an upgrade because it was a newer space. Right. So our mutual friend will attest to our computers, our wiring, everything in that older building
was old school.
Was horrible, right? So moving into this newer space, you know, everything was just a lot more streamlined because you didn't have to go through, you know, figuring out wiring and doing all these weird things that we had to make shift back at the other space. It was older. It was bigger, but it was older. So this space was smaller, but far more manageable and up to date. So
you taught yourself? You taught all this yourself?
Well, with the taxes or the move or
the move, everything,
I did.
Okay,
you know,
and that's what
I did.
That's my point with entrepreneurship, and like us as women, you just have to figure it out.
You do. It was really out of necessity that I learned a lot of things that I learned. And one of the important things that I learned is to get people on your team that do what they do well. And so you don't have to stress out as much, right?
So where do you find those people?
Listen, I'm not a huge networker, but I do listen. Right. I listen when someone says, oh, I know such and such, or this person can do that. And again, I have a client base of 1,000 clients, and half of which are business owners. Right. So they're always, you know, so I'm always hearing things that they're doing and, you know, connections that they may have, or, you know, I even can use some of, you know, their expertise to help me. And so I just, you know, kind of learned over the years, you can't do everything by yourself. Right. Let me say that another way. I am learning over the years. Because I don't know. I'm still trying to do too many things.
I was about to say, because you probably you're the owner, obviously. You're the CEO. You're the
operator, the CFO, the COO, all the OOs.
Are you the HR person too?
And
Are you the janitor?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you would be so proud of me though, because I actually went yesterday. I went to my office. I was poking around, you know, trying to figure out things, and I knew I needed to clean up, and So I actually walked next door because there's a Molly make next door to my office. And I talked to the lady. I said, listen, what do I have to do to get somebody in here regularly?
Wait a minute. So you didn't have anyone hired up until...
I did, but not like, during the tax season, I always have someone in every 2 weeks.
Right.
But outside of tax season, I didn't need that. So I kind of lost that connection a bit. And so, I was just going in and kind of cleaning up myself. And I was like, I can't.
Girl, you too cute.
No, listen, gloves, mops, buckets, watering the plants, checking the packaging, like all the things. But you know how that is. When
I do.
You're an owner operator, you do all the things.
You do all the things.
Especially when you're trying to even consider saving money. Right?
I ain't mad at you.
But then you realize that time is money, right?
Exactly.
So then you're like, I can't spend all this time trying to save money because now I'm wasting time.
And then you're tired. So, okay. So I'm going to finish plating up because I have to talk about this whole management of time thing because you are married, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
20 years.
No, you don't look 20 years old.
You know what? Let's toast to that. That was good because I like you already. 20 years.
And you have kids? Mm-hmm. Okay.
3, 25, 23, 18.
Okay. You know what, Stephanie? Look, I'm going to need your secret because when we come back after I finish plating this, I'm going to have to figure out how you look so fabulous and still have time to manage a business. And a man.
If I have the answer, I'll give it to you.
You're going to have it after we come back.
I'll give it to you.
Okay, we are back. I've plated up something. Stephanie and I have both started to dive in. I was trying something different. Thank you. I was trying something different because holiday season is approaching and I wanted to try something healthy, no carbs because, we try to look good.
Listen, we try.
We're trying to look good. And so I was preparing an avocado stuffed cup, if you will, with ground turkey. And it's basically like a taco, but without the shell. Mm-hmm. And so I'm hoping that this will go over well with our holiday season. But, it's always good just to chit and chat and eat something good, right?
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Okay, so,
especially when it's delicious.
Thank you. Well, back to the real conversation. We ended off with, how do you balance your time with your family? You said you were married and you have kids. So I know during tax season, that's probably not going to happen too much. But, I'm sure you have to still balance and, you have to show them some love.
I'm going to be honest, that is a challenge.
Okay.
And it's been an ongoing challenge. Just because tax season specifically is like so consolidated and it's in this really short period of time. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of work to get done. Mm-hmm. So my hours are very long. So when my children were younger, it was challenging.
Right.
And it was actually heartbreaking for me because I would actually see their grades decline a bit.
During tax season?
During tax season.
Oh, wow.
Because I was kind of a helicopter mom in the sense that, I want to make sure the work is done, the homework. Are we reading every night? Bedtime, but when I couldn't be there, even though my husband was amazing and honestly having the support system to me was the key.
Okay.
So between my husband and my mom and, other family members, I was able to make it work during tax season.
Okay.
And then also being, own my own business, there's flexibility in that. I did have my kids even to come work with me when they got, a bit older.
How old are they now?
So we're talking 18, 23, and 25 at this point,
Okay. Girl, are you 20?
I'm 21.
Okay.
Perpetually 21. So my youngest, she's in college right now. Okay. My middle just got his master's in May. So we're super excited about him finishing. My 25-year-old, he's down in Georgia cooking like yourself.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a chef.
Okay.
So but when they were younger, and obviously you want to be a more hands-on parent, it was hard. I can't even get around that.
Right.
You know, not being able to be there for, you know, what I felt were significant periods of times in their lives was really hard.
Right.
But now that they're older and they're not even, I mean, we're almost empty nesting at this point, you know. Yeah, I can just kind of come and go as I please, you know, and I just have to make time for my husband.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about that because that's important too. I mean, because us single people, we want, I mean, how are we going to manage?
You know, you just have to find somebody to me that's aligned, you know, and understands what it is you're doing is for the team.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
So it's a partnership.
So is your husband, does he help you with the business or?
Wonderful thing about him is that he's into communications, audio visual work. So he did all the wiring in my office, the telephone work, you know, the hanging of my TVs and all that wonderful stuff. And he's really handy. So anything that I need to fix or to mount or, you know, whatever, he's always able to do those things for me. Right. But in terms of the tax part, that's not his zhuzh. So he didn't really get into that, you know. But because of the type of businesses that he and I both have, it affords us some flexibility. You know, so that even though we aren't able to spend a lot of time together during those first 4 months of the year, you know, we have the rest of the year to do a lot of things and to be together. So we just have to, we've always had an understanding around the need to support each other.
So he's a small business owner too?
He's a small business owner. He also has a 9-to-5. So
oh my gosh.
So he's doing a lot, you know, too, you know, so we just had to understand that. And then again, leaning on our support system, I always call it my village. I lean heavily on my village, you know, which includes my friends and my family, you know, so.
I was about to ask that too about your village, your people, your circle of friends. Would you say over the years that, when you first started, you had a different circle of people or friends that, I mean, because not everybody understands what we go through every day.
Let me tell you something. I don't know if it was because I was an only child. God said, I'm just going to give you good friends.
Okay.
Like, I literally have had the same friends.
Really?
Forever. Yes.
That's amazing.
Since high school.
What?
Like, and
most of us can't even say we have high school friends still.
Since high school, I have the same friends, the best friends, you know, they are my children's aunties, you know, for forever. So anything that I've ever needed, anything that they, you know, my kids needed, you know, even my husband, for example, we all support each other. I haven't had the situation where I've had to remove, you know, certain things or people from my life.
Right. That's a blessing.
You know, I've been really blessed in that space. And I know that it's necessary at times, you know, but for me, that hasn't been an issue. And again, I think that it's just because, you know, I'm not a super religious person, but I do believe in God, and I do believe that there is a higher power, and something said, okay, Stephanie, we're going to figure out how to make this work for you. Right. You know, and it has. Okay.
That's a blessing in itself. I mean, because I think, the whole support system is what I think gets us through, you know, day to day. And I say to some other guests is like, no day is the same.
No.
I mean, when people say, hey, what's your day like?
I don't know. It changes in entrepreneurship. It changes from day to day. It's always something new. Even on a regular day when you have scheduled people, right? Even in that schedule, just the smallest thing can change the trajectory of your whole day. You know, so it's always something new and exciting, I guess. You know? Happening in that space.
So I always say too, as a small business owner, you have to have some important people in your space, in your circle. And one of them is an accountant. One of them is a tax preparer. And another one I say is an attorney.
Yes.
So, I mean, you are like an integral part, a very integral part or piece of the puzzle that's important. So when you are working with small business owners, I mean, how do you, you know, go about making us feel, you know, comfortable? Because I hate to say it, but I've gone through, like, I've been in business for 16 years and I'm on my third accountant. Hopefully it's my last. I wish I would have found you.
It's okay. You know,
I mean, because, you know, to
there's
transition.
marriages made in heaven, you know, and we just don't need to be married right now. It's okay. If you get divorced, I'll be there.
Okay. But, you know, it's hard to transition. You can't just stop and just, you know, jump onto it with another accounting firm. A lot of times it's a little bit, I mean, if you've been in business for a long time, it can be a little bit tricky. But I'm asking the question of, you know, the importance of that relationship with your accountant, your tax preparer, and, you know, how do you go about, you said the relationship is important.
It is critical.
You know, in the beginning. But I think that having that person I thought in the beginning, it was all on you. You know, I got into, I hate to say it, y'all, but I got into a little bit of a pickle because I was ignorant of the accounting laws and the sales taxes. But I said, you know, I blamed my accountant because I said, well, you know, that's why I'm paying you. That's why I'm paying that firm to make sure everything is filed. What do you think about that?
You know, I have mixed feelings on that.
Okay.
Right. But I think that part of the reason why my practice has been able to be sustained is that I do place an emphasis, a kind of heavy emphasis on education.
Okay.
Because I believe that you do have accountability as a taxpayer.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
One of the things I do with every single appointment that I have, and if you were to come in my office, you'll see I have a monitor right over my desk. And when I finish doing what I'm doing, I turn that monitor to my client. And I literally walk through their return. I walk through a summary of their return. Before you sign anything, when you walk out of my door, you're going to know what you signed. And that's important to me because your name is on that tax return. And although the tax preparer has some liability, the onus and the major liability falls on the taxpayer, right? The IRS they don't let you kind of get away with
that's
that.
Why we're signing.
Somebody else did this and somebody else didn't know. You know, that's why you have to sign it. So if you have to sign it, I think you should have some high level understanding of what's happening on it, right?
Absolutely.
And feel empowered to ask questions.
Right.
And I always ask, do you have questions?
Okay.
What is it that you need to know? And it's important to me to let people know that I am not an attorney. And although I do have some accounting training, my focus is on tax consulting, tax preparation, and you know, tax planning, small business development. That's what I do. But you have an expectation as a small business owner to make sure that your accounting is structured properly, right? So if I have a small business coming in or someone that's just getting started, the first thing I'm going to recommend you do is get an accounting software. Not an accountant, but an accounting system. QuickBooks, a ledger. Like, people don't write as much anymore, but I always try to encourage people to do what their strength is, right? So if you're not strong in computers, I don't want you to have to learn a whole other thing. If you're a writer, write it down. We really want to know where your income was. We really want to know where your expenses were. We don't have to get into all of the weeds with what an accountant can do with those numbers, but it's your responsibility to get those numbers to give to the person, right? So, like, to me, I think that it's our responsibility to say, you do have a responsibility. And this is what you should know.
Fair. I've learned over the years, so
it's a learning process.
I'll take it. And that's another thing with entrepreneurship or just owning a business. Even though your dad had set everything up for you, I mean, it's a constant like learning and, you know, sharing and giving of information. And that's what we do. You mentioned it earlier. You said you pivoted, you know, earlier. And I mean, we as women, I think as Black women too, we pivot all the time. So, you know, your dad had been in business for many years. And I mean, at 25.
At least.
25 years when you took over. So, I mean, that's amazing because as, you know, all the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, small business owners, the money, I mean, I think it's to be commended because I mean you have a legacy. So
that's what keeps me going.
Right. So your dad set the ground level. Mm-hmm. You're in it now. You've been in it for how many years?
11 going on 12.
Oh my gosh.
I took over the business, and put everything in my name in 2011.
Okay. So you've been doing this thing for 11 years. So are you really going to do it for 11 more? I mean, what is your exit strategy? Because I don't know. We didn't talk about what your kids majored in or what they're going to do, but are you going to hand this down to them like your dad did for you? Or what you going to do, girl?
Well, I told you my oldest is a chef. So
right. That's out of the picture.
Transitioning, right.
Right.
My middle is in sociology. He wants to be a professor at UCLA.
Okay, that may not
West Coast. So I'm thinking probably not there.
Right. Okay, so what's up for the third?
My daughter, she wants to be a tattoo artist / veterinarian. I don't know what she wants to do yet. She's still trying to figure it out, bless her heart. But I don't think that it's going to be in tax
You're not going to transition that to them.
But I will say this, though. I will never say never.
Okay, yeah.
Because my path until I got here was this thing, right?
Right.
I went to school for the performing arts in D.C.
Okay.
So at Duke Ellington. And I was going to be Beyonce. That was the plan. Okay.
So
you can see, I am doing accounting right now. So, but again, my life took a different, path than I had anticipated at 18. So I don't know what my kids are going to do. You never know. But I do want to make sure that the foundation is there for them. Mm-hmm. So even if they decide that they don't want to get into the weeds and do the operating work, right? They can still be owners.
Okay.
Right. So this is part of what I'm trying to work on now, going from leasing the space that I'm in to owning the space that I will knock on. You don't have wood around here.
We'll knock on this.
That I want to have open by, tax season January 2023, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to have that space open. That's an asset for my business that I, will hopefully be able to pass on to my children, and then there will be a system and a structure in place so that if they did decide to just own, they could hire someone to operate.
Okay.
Right. So this is kind of where my mindset is now. Okay. At a 40
have you talked to them about
year old person? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they've actually come to me. Kids right now, they have such immense access to information. Mm-hmm. It's incredible that they actually said, my two youngest were talking to each other and they were like, we need to talk to mom about what the plan is.
Right.
Because my husband and I are always traveling.
Right.
So we'll tell them, we'll give them the safe is here, this is that, what I mean? So it does raise questions for them.
Okay.
As to what their future may look like.
Right. Right.
So we've had those conversations. Mm-hmm. And again, it's up to me to position the business so they can have whatever it is I'm able to leave behind to them.
Right.
Because it is a legacy.
It is.
And it is
absolutely
the thing that gets me up every morning to do this because it's not easy.
No.
It's a grind, really.
Because you don't want to disappoint. You don't want to, your dad is smiling down on you.
Yeah, hopefully.
He is.
Sometimes I know he's like, girl, but yeah. but hopefully, he is, and so, and that's what keeps me going, really. I don't know that we have enough legacy businesses in our communities.
We don't.
And what we do is for the community. It's always been community based.
Yep.
So, and I plan and hope to keep it that way.
Okay.
So.
All right. Steph, we have talked about a lot today. We have. I don't want to end. I don't want to end, but there's so much more that we can talk about. I'm sure you can write a book and have a movie.
I don't know about a movie, but you maybe. Man, listen, I'm not going to put a cap on my dreams. I will. maybe, I don't know. We all have so much.
There's so
that we
much
could
because
share.
there's so much that, I mean, that we don't express as women,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, business owners, that we just figure it out. And sometimes we just go with the flow.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, what can I do? What can people that are watching do to help you in your business, get to the ultimate level to where you can, just stop what you're doing and go vacation?
Well, I'm going to be vacation regardless.
Okay,
right?
okay.
But no, for me, I just think that always supporting community businesses, right? And support looks
how does that
so
look?
many different things,
Okay.
right? So support can also be constructive. Criticism can be constructive, right? So if you have something that you feel like a business could work on to make it better for you and the community, I think that you should feel comfortable with saying those things, especially to smaller businesses. I am receptive to that.
Okay.
I'm not receptive to just any type of criticism.
Are you on social media?
I have to admit. I am.
Okay.
But I'm getting better with that. Like
Okay.
I was very, very anti-social media.
Okay.
But I know that that's kind of the way the world is going. And I do want to get more in that space because education is such a big piece to me.
Right.
And I want to be able to move into the education space in social media.
Right.
But I am there, Baker's Tax and Accounting Service on Instagram and the same on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I'll probably try to move into some other spaces, but definitely bakerstaxservice.com is my website.
Okay.
So a lot of good information there. But yeah, I'm trying to get into that space, and it's just never really been my thing.
But you've been managing other things, so we'll let you slide. But
but I'm going to get into it, though.
Okay, I was about to say.
Because everybody is like, get into it.
Yes.
You
I'm
must
going to hold
get
you
into
accountable.
it. Yeah, I
Okay.
will. Especially because I want to do more marketing. And I know that there's not a whole lot of costs in marketing on social media, so I would be, remiss not to get into that more.
Right.
So I'm
and
ready
people
to do
need
it.
to know about like the ins and outs of accounting.
Yeah.
What we need to do to prepare. Like I have a whole stack of receipts. I mean, is that really important? I mean,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Record
those-
keeping is critical.
Yes. So, I mean, you making a small video on telling me what to do and what not to do.
I've done that.
Okay.
And I plan to do more of it.
Okay. Because I need a reminder.
Yeah, because I think that one of the things that business women, like ourselves, I think we kind of really are into the work so heavily that we won't come out of it to kind of see the bigger picture and do the other things that we can do to have this growth that we're looking for. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm realizing that I need to get more into that space and out of the weeds of the work. Hence the reason I'm going to be doing a class.
Okay.
I'm going to teach some associates. I don't know, my clients aren't going to wait. They're not going to hear that. But
because they want you. They want you.
Yeah,
but in order to
do.
expand and get out of the picture and out of the weeds, you gotta
I gotta
transition.
teach other people to do what I do. Kind of get out of my ego and get this thing going. So I can move to a platform where I can teach more people.
It's necessary.
I'm open.
Okay, so I mean, are you accepting new clients? Okay, well, we won't go there.
Yes, I'm always accepting new clients. We kind of want to applicant. I do consultations to accept new people
because I know it's hard to find a good accountant, a good bookkeeper, a good tax preparer, and when you find someone, that's why it's so hard to get into.
It's hard, for people to get in, but at the same time. I think once they get in, they kind of get
stay.
what they pay for. I hope so, because it's important for me to cultivate those relationships. But, and so when I'm dealing with people, on the level where you can communicate with me, consistently, it's hard to do that when you have a lot of people.
Right.
That's
why you need to expand and teach
I gotta kind of expand
associates.
and get out of that space so I can, get more people in there. And I, develop a model around what I, what my business believes in, and disseminate that to people to kind of get it out to the clients. And so,
well,
I'm working on that.
We're all a work in progress. Well, you know what? I know your time is so valuable because
and yours.
just a small business in general. Our time is valuable, but I know yours is thank God we're not in accountant season.
No, I wouldn't be able to be here.
I know that's right.
I'm just joking.
No, you
I
wouldn't
made time for you.
But I appreciate it. I appreciate you just being here and sharing your information, sharing your wealth of knowledge, and just you as a person. I've gotten to know you a little bit better. And if you are interested in any type of tax preparation or accounting services, that's the woman. All right. As always, we appreciate you joining Cooking with Sharon, the business chat. As always, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.
Listen, I wanted to say, but I didn't know when to interject. Like, I really wanted to say thank you for having me on.
Oh.
And your platform is wonderful. How can Lindsay, can we record that somehow?
Okay.
Well, no, thank you for having me.
Of course.
I appreciate this platform. I appreciate this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should have more discussions like this, around people like us.
Absolutely.
That, are really working hard to, kind of make your mark and doing good and even great things.
Well, thank you.
In our community. And your food is delicious.
Oh, that's even better.
So thank you for having me.
And the libations are always good.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you the next time. Cooking with Sharon, the business chat. He'll do his thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I
don't even know when to come in and say thank you for having me.
Oh, well,